Hi there, and welcome to episode 128. Oh, fuck me.
128.
It's
98.
not Yeah, I know. I can see it. I could see it when I was reading it.
It's a year
But
ago, that.
This is a good start, isn't it, so far? 198 of the ADHD Adults podcast. I'm James Brown, the slightly disappointing placebo effect of science communication. And I'm joined, as always, sadly, by Dr. Alex Connor, a man who, if methylphenidate can improve focus, was the clinical trial dropout who kept forgetting to turn up for follow-up appointments. And, of course, she's back with us, as you can tell, Mrs. AuDHD, who's living proof that a long-term effect of ADHD itself is not realising that you could have married someone far, far better. Alex, hi.
Long-term effects following a randomized clinical trial. Randomized clinical hi all. Am I right?
What was that?
You were laughing. You were laughing before you even started delivering that.
I love that.
That was
one.
the first noise you made was
Randomized clinical hi all.
Yeah, I should react maybe differently, but Alex and I tried to record this last week or earlier in the week and then realised the script was shit. So I have heard that one before, and that's why I didn't respond, not because it wasn't funny in any way. Anyway, how are you both, Mrs. AuDHD first?
I'm alive. How are you?
Nope, but I'm glad you're alive. And Alex, I guess.
I'm excellent, thank you. Just because Sam's here, I like to do those mini pauses. It's the end of ADHD Awareness Month. I think it's actually November now. And we can all agree that the specific changes made will continue for the rest of the year, and we won't immediately be criticised by the Murdoch papers as malingering lazy twats. So that's nice.
100%.
One of whom has sent us a letter?
One of those malingering lazy twats.
Kind of, yeah, from down there. I don't know who it's from. I just better check. Yeah, it's from a Robert from Kidderminster James. And it says, I'm reading the letter now, it says, I listened to your last episode on limericks, and a really good example is there once was an Alex from Germany who got confused with the script order, so this doesn't make sense, and he can't write limericks.
Oh, God, I bet you were fully erect when you wrote that, weren't you? That you loved writing.
I love that. He also wrote, James was also absolutely fixated on that limerick about the man whose bum grew a flower. Thanks, Robert. We're still pretending to mix up limerence and limericks, I see, which is what Howard wants, James.
It is. We're just leaning into what Howard loves about this podcast.
We've had a review from Howard. We've also had a real letter. Can I read it out, Sam?
Nope.
Yes, please. Shit, where is my...
It's from a Nat. Has Sam remembered that she's on an audio medium? So when she speaks...
yeah, I know. I'm not sure. Shit,
I'm so sorry. My laptop isn't plugged in and it's just about to die.
Amazing.
I don't think anybody's noticed. I owe you guys an apology. I don't. I owe you nothing. This is Nat's letter. It says, I owe you guys an apology. I'm newly diagnosed and a new listener. And after a few episodes of thinking, you can tell they're a gang of ADHDers. They talk so fast. I realised I had my podcast on 1.6 times speed. I felt very at home with you, though, because every call centre job I've ever had, I've been given feedback that I talk way too fast and customers don't understand me. I like that, Nat. A lot of people do, don't they, James? They've told us.
Yeah, by choice. Especially your bits, obviously 2.5 times speed. Anyway, this stale Monster Munch spicy tomato flavour at the bottom of a bus seat of a podcast is still kind of a tragedy in sort of three parts. This bit, Al, that we're doing now, or that you're listening to now, or then, probably now, no, it has to be now, is part one. In part two, the 4-hour Best of Antiques Roadshow compilation of science, Alex the Psycho Education Monkey.
Hello.
We'll deliver the science behind this week's topic, and then we'll give personal reflections in the final part. But, you won't be listening by then anyway. Howard, what are we talking about this week, Sam?
This week, we're going to be discussing a topic many people ask about, apparently, the long-term effects of ADHD medication. And that's the end of part 1, where, like Googling how much sadness is enough to annoy people, you'll regret later. Join us in part 2, where Alex will accidentally prove that science really can be boring, and James will mispronounce several words that a typical 7-year-old knows how to pronounce. Why are you both laughing? Bye.
Alex, hi.
Aight. What's up? Hello, Governor.
Welcome back to episode 197 of the ADHD Adults podcast. In part 2, we'll cover the psychoeducation of the long-term effects of ADHD medication. Alex, go.
197 of 198.
Oh, yeah. I'm changing the script.
Oh,
Okay, before we get into the long-term effects of medication, we need to probably do a very, very super boringly quick ADHD meds 101. Most people who take ADHD meds take the stimulant medications, which God knows what that means. These are split into 2 main types: the amphetamine speed ones and methylphenidates, which aren't speed, but they're a bit like it. All the stimulants boost neurotransmitters dopamine and norepinephrine, which English people call noradrenaline, some of us. The amphetamine ones, like Lizex, also do serotonin increase as well. That's the main difference. In the bits of your brain that need them, we get boosted signal, and that stronger signal means less noise and hopefully less. Is that a Womble's nose over there? Less of that. The non-stimulants, still don't know what that means, in the UK almost always means atomoxetine, but elsewhere in the world there are others used more routinely, like guanfacine. I think is that used on children in the UK as well, James?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think
License.
Antoinidine. A couple of new ones this week in the FDA approval in America, which I've forgotten the names of. Non-stimulants also tinker probably with neurotransmitter levels and are often used if the stimulants don't work or aren't tolerated, or they might be too risky to try on someone. That's the ADHD meds 101.
So the geek in me wants you to go into detail in the mechanism of action, but that's not going to please Howard, is it? So carry on.
It's not. If you want to read the review that Howard sent, James and I have been laughing about it all week. It's so fair. It's absolutely accurate and a complete assassination of us. Yeah, we can't do the boring stuff because we're about a month of poor sales away from calling listeners units. We've got to shift units. Lily Allen did that. I read it's called I love units for humans. Right. When we look at long-term effects of meds, we can break them down into how they work, functional effects and behavior and so on, and then what they are doing to our brain boxes. That's physiological effects. And actually, functionally, it is pretty much all good, mainly for stimulants. A good ADHD news klaxon.
Ooh.
ADHD meds do not cure ADHD, but they bloody well help with a lot of the challenges we face. They don't cure those either, but if you need a bit more than that, okay, pathetic.
Hang on a minute. Sorry, if you need a bit more than that, was that going to be the end? Like, okay, I've done the functional stuff. Yeah. Basically, it helps us with some of the challenges we face. Now, the physiology.
Sam would love that. Alex, go. Done. Enough. Yeah. I think most people would. Right, yeah. There are different effects from small and moderate to not much at all, but in general, long-term use of medication, it does improve, for example, academic performance, whatever you're doing, learning, improves focus on learning, reducing our tendency for disruptive behavior. But, and this is a big but, James, it still depends on our interest, our understanding of ADHD, interest in the subject, the teaching quality, learning strategies we have in place. And the worst bit, that we still have to put the fucking effort in. That's awful. More good news, long-term use of ADHD medication is, not in everyone, is also linked to lower rates of depression, suicide attempts, psychiatric hospitalizations, substance use disorders. Hello. Funnily enough, despite the persistent myth nonsense of there are gateway drugs in general and the idea that stimulants cause addiction, they reduce our adherence to substance uses. It can also long-term make life safer for us. Research shows lower rates of accidents, injuries, car crashes, even criminal offences when people are on their ADHD medication compared to times when the same people aren't. Got some unexpected findings too, for some reason, possibly to do with that appetite suppression. I'm not sure. So lower obesity rates. That was in women, studies in women. Fewer unplanned pregnancies, also in women. It's a biology joke. I've just realised the whole pickle I've got myself in. Moving on. So a lot of the burdens of ADHD come down to normal levels when ADHD is treated and managed. And they're not the same thing as just giving us meds and then telling us to fuck off. That's what we all get, right? But I mean, that is better than nothing. But just being given the meds isn't treated and managed. It's just treated.
No, true. And some people do just have that nothing, don't they? And what about the physiological bit?
Yeah. English isn't your first language, is it, James? We don't have one, which is unusual.
Grunting.
Yeah. Okay. Physiology, how it works on the brain. Start with the brain, physiologically speaking. The big ticket item here is neuroplasticity. Again, long-term effects of ADHD medication can be and are complex. There is research that is starting to suggest that medication may decrease connectivity in certain subcortical regions, that's the underneath the outside bit of the brain, like the striatum, in children, but increase it in adults, reflecting that might be a maturation and aging of the dopamine system, a development of it. And the evidence strongly supports the idea that stimulants induce neuroplastic changes. The dominant theme is one of, inverted commas, normalization. That's moving the brain structure and function closer to a sort of biological average, a neurotypical. That's what neurotypical means. An average doesn't really exist in any one person. Rather than sort of rewiring it into a new or unnatural state, it's typifying it. The field is massively still new and untangling, which affects transient, so it's state-dependent, short while you're on the drug, and which are persistent, long-term, more permanent trait changes. Good. A specific example that James found was basal ganglia, particularly the caudate and putamen, if you want to, which means turkey, I think. A turkey prostitute. Consistently reported as having smaller volumes. Look at you, like James, getting that multilingual joke while you all pretend to be your working class thick warrior. Caught you. Consistently reported these regions of the brain have smaller volumes in people with unmedicated, untreated ADHD, and multiple meta-analyses have found that long-term stimulant treatment might be associated with those structures no longer being significantly different from non-ADHD controls. The medication seems, in this case, to be repairing, in inverted commas, or typifying normalization of this volume. We don't know if the volume has the ADHD effects. We don't know. These are just associative sort of geography, if you will. Similar normalizing, inverted commas, effects, rabbit ears, James, have been noted in other key areas. So nucleus accumbens, which is involved in reward and motivation, and the insula, involved in saliency and emotional regulation. So being able to not lose your shit in Tesco, James. What is also probably true is that the mechanism isn't just a temporary chemical bath. It's not only that. By increasing the availability of dopamine and noradrenaline or norepinephrine, whatever you prefer, these stimulants are thought to trigger a cascade that affects LTP, long-term potentiation, probably a big part of memory, no, definitely. The strengthening of synaptic connections between the neurons that underpins learning and memory. That's what that is. So that's quite exciting as well.
Can I ask something very quickly?
Please.
When you said that medication may decrease connectivity in certain subcortical regions in children, but increase it in adults, what would that mean for us and for children?
It's a great question. I was thinking that as I said it, and the answer is we don't know. So the problem with understanding ADHD, there isn't an ADHD brain, and we don't just have more of a thing or not enough dopamine. It's the communication is disrupted. Dis means messed about with. Sometimes too little, sometimes too much in the wrong places. So, and this might reflect why the studies on treatments might be more beneficial in some areas for children and not in adults, and not in adult women especially. Or it might just be a coincidence. So we don't know. It's too hammery at the moment. We've got a great big sledgehammer to crack nuts, and all we're doing is throwing stuff at it and saying, "Oh, look at that! That person feels better." And then we look at the brains and go, "Oh, that goes up, that goes down. I wonder if that's why they feel better." Don't know. And so it really is quite. We're flinging shit at walls and seeing what sticks a bit pharmacologically.
Yes.
James, have you got a better answer than that? Because that was really unsatisfying.
Yeah, no, I think it comes down to the maturation thing in children. Obviously, the brain is still maturing, but it's got a lot more maturing to do than in adults. So the brain takes about 25, 30 years to finish maturing. But if you're at that age of kind of 7, 9, then particularly the striatum, which contains the basal ganglia and parts of the reward system and the limbic systems, you've got these parts that are really important in ADHD. That's still developing and got a lot more developing to do in younger children. And I suppose if you tinker with that development further by adding, even if it is correcting dopamine, noradrenaline, serotonin, then maybe it just changes the way in which the brain develops.
But we don't know whether
in adulthood.
No.
Right. But we don't know whether it's better or worse to have underconnectivity or overconnectivity.
Well, the outcomes are better. So if that's what the meds are doing, then by definition, in terms of those ADHD traits, it must be better because people say they're better and that you can measure it and they are better at doing shit. So it must be that it's a good thing in this case, but that's all we can like wildly guess.
Oh, so it's a good thing to be decreased in children, but increased in adults.
They might not be decreasing and increasing in the same thing bits, or it might be that the brains are different enough that matters. But yeah.
Okay, I'll stop asking about this.
You know, if it's like so if there's an average amount that you want and children have got too much and we've got too little, then they would decrease to the average amount and we would increase the average amount, but the end result would be the same. It could be like that.
Okay, I'm satisfied.
Just because we're going to get letters. James is amusingly very clever and knows that the human adult brain isn't actually matured. But when we talk about maturing, the difference from child to adult is so stark. That maturation is massive compared to the continuing maturation. I just know someone's going to actually be mature. The brain never fully mature, but we know.
No, it's okay because I'm going to edit 2/3 of that out anyway.
Yeah, cut that. Right, first up,
Sam, I'm not going to. It's okay. I'm just going to edit half of it out.
Yeah, your bits.
Just my bits.
And apart from the brain, it says, I don't know.
What long-term effects of ADHD medication aren't on the brain box?
Yes.
Just shut up, James. I'm trying to do a thing. So there are long-term effects on ADHD medication that aren't in the brain. For example, cardiovascular effects. That means hearty bits. Long-term use has been linked to a slightly increased risk of hypertension and actually some other cardiovascular diseases. No need to panic right now on this. Very, very small effects, very unlikely, and certainly not in everyone. And this is statistical averages, remember, and any real biological effects we don't know about at the moment. Stimulants do usually cause a really small change in your heart rate, but we're talking like a beat a minute extra. Like, my heart rate's 81 instead of 80, maybe up to 6 beats in some people a minute. But this, that's like walking up 3 steps. There might as well be a slight bump in blood pressure, but again, not 20. You're not suddenly 100 over 130 over 60. Actually, the non-stimulant atomoxetine might be doing the same as well. A large study on stimulant medications, so that's the Lisdex and methylphenidate ones, found people on stimulants were more likely to develop a weakened heart muscle over time. It's cardiomyopathy. After a year, there was a 17% increase, 57% more likely at 8 years. And that sounds alarming. And then you look at the actual numbers. And so after 10 years, 0.72% of people on meds had that small, actually not that small, had that increase compared to 0.53% who didn't. So the absolute risk is tiny. Next episode on absolute risk. That's something to look forward to, everybody. But it's, the chances of that happening to you are really low, probably. But overall, most big studies showed no increased risk of sudden death, stroke, heart attack, if you haven't got existing heart disease. And so that's something they always check for before giving you stimulant medication, or should. You should have your heart rate and blood pressure monitored, especially if you're on the speed like stimulants. And stimulants in general should probably avoided or used with caution if you have certain heart conditions.
I also seem to remember something about stature. Ding? No.
Is stature? It is a bit. It's like
Yeah,
it is a bit rude. Yeah. Little bit of evidence in growth and development. So people often ask me about, do my kids have ADHD medications? And I say, mind your own business. And then I say, I think when it's a risk assessment like anything, and some children just fly in life with it, there is a little bit of evidence that children who are medicated early might end up a couple of centimeters inch shorter and a few pounds lighter due to treatment, but most catch up by adulthood, and long-term differences appear generally minimal. So there's a choice to make there. There are very, very rare but serious risks like psychosis or mania, mostly linked to high doses of amphetamine-based meds, especially if you've got a history of mental illnesses. James hasn't seen this risk in methylphenidate. Those psychotic symptoms like hallucinations, delusions, paranoia, Tuesday, as James calls it, that one's too dark. Usually resolve within 2 weeks of stopping the medication.
It's really not.
No.
So as we both know, Alex, science can be a bit shit because ours was. So are these studies that you've like waffled on about for fucking ages any good? Like
Yours was shit. Mine was simply made up. That's not true. But that's an all former employers. Mixed bag, mate. Is that enough for you? Do you need more? Bit like your publication record.
What, is that enough for you? What do you need more?
Yeah.
More.
You did have good papers, didn't you, James? They just didn't have me on as a co-author.
Very true.
Yeah, trying to study the long-term effects of ADHD is, Sam's question was annoyingly absolutely bang on point, wasn't it? Is how do you know whether this long-term effects is anything to do with actual ADHD, actual medication? The most reliable type of study, a long-term randomized controlled, hi all, is unethical. You can't do them because you'd have to stop people taking the meds for a long time. And we need, they literally save our lives in many cases. So most evidence has to come from observational studies and inference of what could happen.
Can I just ask, Sam, have you shit yourself because you sat there with this look of confusion on your face? And I know it's about the 0.72 and 0.53% thing because you highlighted it in the script. Because you highlighted it in the script. Remember, this is a shared document, and then you've stared at it like you've got shit in your pants with a confused face
really
for the last 4 minutes.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was just trying to work out how
the risk of cardiomyopathy is 0.72% in people on meds compared to 0.53% to people not on meds.
Oh,
so it's a slightly increased risk.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it. Yes, thank you. I can move on from that now. Thank you. That's exactly what I was fixated on.
If 1 in 10 million people blow up when they eat a bacon sandwich, and you have a 50% increased chance of that would mean 1.5 people in a million.
I get it. What I was fixated on is because I thought that 0.53% had it and 0.72% had it and 0.53% didn't, and I thought, but that doesn't equal 100%. So how is that? You've explained it. Thank you.
One of the central pillars of science communication is making sure that the receiver of the communication isn't more confused at the end of the science communication than they were at the start. And I'd like to think that we do that very, very well.
Very, very well
on this show.
And feeling stupid is a disease that we have taught ourselves is the fault of the student and not the communicator. And if somebody cannot say to me, I feel stupid because of the information I've just heard, it's not me. It's the information I've said. I can try and say it a different way, but we're taught too much respect for teachers from an early age. And when you've got ADHD, I fucking hated school because of that exact reason. I just felt like an idiot the whole time. And I'm not an idiot. I just help out when they're busy.
Anyway, keeping us back on some vague form of track, so we finish it today. Crack on, son.
I think Sam says the things that everybody else thinks. That's what I think. I hate saying something nice about him, and you know that, James.
I
Yeah, I
hate
know.
it too.
Are we all? It's what?
Oh, you both
Sorry.
hate it. Amazing. It's perfect. That's manna from heaven for me. That
Oh
is.
yeah. If you can remember anything, just finish the thing, Alex. You can hear. I can hear people thinking, Howard. Yeah, we follow people in real world settings. Well, I do, and the evidence comes from observational studies of how they behave in real life settings, and the limitations of that are probably fairly obvious. Boring list clacks on, inconsistent adherence. In real life, people don't take their meds perfectly. I take my meds about 5 or 6 times a week by accident. We are measuring people and saying they've stayed on their meds, but actually they've sort of stayed on their meds. B, co-occurring conditions. I like saying comorbid because it annoys people who don't know what the word means. ADHD very often comes with other mental health conditions like anxiety or depression, either causative or coincidental. And this, of course, affects outcomes and medication response, because one of the things you measure is anxiety and depression. C, social and economic factors like family income. I mean, you know what these are: parental education level, your own. These strongly influence any long-term outcomes on health, regardless of what medications you're on or what diagnosis you've got. 4, non-medication treatments. If you access therapy, if you're in an area of special education support, you've got social support, and you don't live in England, essentially. Well, a bit of politics, which can improve these results, but won't be measured because they're not part of the study. It can absolutely skew the results. Publication bias. It's until relatively recently, read Ben Goldacre for an amazing analysis of what bad science is. We get our promotions based on science, publishing science with positive and strong results. We actually get promotions for that. Think about how shit that is. What, didn't do anything? Oh, you can't publish that in a good journal then. You can't pay your mortgage because you don't get your... Well, people aren't going to do studies with negative results then. It's changing, luckily. Studies with positive, powerful results are more likely to get published. So meta-analyses almost certainly are overestimating benefits. And all of this creates a constant trade-off between internal validity, that's knowing that there's a cause and effect, that the studies are valid, and external validity, that's reflecting a real life validity. Is it real? Is it real for actual people? These observational studies are science. They are useful. They're prone to confounding factors, though, because inherent weakness, they have to have that. So yes, the findings are interesting and useful. Yes, they need to be interpreted with caution. Oh, tired.
Was Sam, was that cyber because you saw how much psychoeducation was still to come? Did you scroll down and then?
I think it was me, wasn't it?
I could see. No, her face went from obviously
stop studying your wife.
The confused shitting herself face. I do this all the time because I'm trying to learn her resting autism face that she has. Sometimes I can't work out what emotion it is, but she'd recovered from the shitting herself, kind of what's that stats been to be vaguely bored, but then it went from that to a level of and I think she just scrolled down and saw there's 2 more bits of psychoeducation. Is that anywhere near reality?
Partially, yes.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
also because you've got a tab open and it was something unrelated that you were reading.
No, I didn't actually.
Anyway,
he's very impressive, Sam, isn't he? How can he do this?
I know. It's very annoying.
Anyway, you couple of bubbling burps, that doesn't work or isn't funny. Do the drugs, Al, the drugs for ADHD, that is, do they stop working? Is that a thing?
Oh God, James, stupid questions. No, it's that isn't a stupid question. Everyone worries about that, and the picture is complicated. So do ADHD meds stop working over time? There is some evidence it can happen, and there's loads of anecdotes that people find it happens, including from me, but it's anecdote, is not the plural of anecdote, isn't evidence. Stimulants boost dopamine and norepinephrine or noradrenaline levels in your brain. That's a short-term thing. Over long-term use of them, brain imaging studies have shown that some people develop more dopamine transporters in response, which could make us clear that brain bath of dopamine quicker. maybe reducing the drug's impact over time, maybe. The key study was the MTA study, called Multimodal Treatment Study, in children with ADHD. Followed children for years, not making a joke of that, not in a creepy way. 14 months old, medication clearly outperformed other treatments, stimulant medication, I think it was. 2, 3, 8, and 16-year-long follow-ups, and that advantage didn't appear to be there. And some see this as proof for fading effectiveness, but other people point out that after the first 14 months, the participants were not monitored and they were not kept on their meds formally. So the later data might say more about adherence, which we know is poor, than about the drugs themselves.
And finally, he says knowingly, do we tend to stick to taking them? You mentioned adherence, so is that something that we do reliably?
In the script I put, yes, we do, all of us. No. Funnily enough, medication only works if you take the medication, James. That's how it works. Apart from acupuncture, which works whether you do it or not. And that's one of the biggest challenges with ADHD. Regardless of what fucking PIP assessors say, more than half of teenagers and young adults stop their medication within a year of starting it. Discontinuation rates are highest in young adults. That discontinuation peaks around the 18, 19 years old. Within a year, 53% of adolescents, 61% of young adults, and half of older adults as well stop taking the meds. When children hit 18, they move on from CAMS to an adult services, and it could be reflecting that. We don't know why. There are familiar reasons as well: side effects, feeling like it's not working or you don't need it anymore, running out, cost, other health conditions, having them taken off you by a cruel and uncaring healthcare system, for example, or just being personally unsure about the concept of needing medication for what is a normal yet extreme mental health set of abilities. Some people quit when things get difficult for them. Other people just forget they exist, relatively. The picture isn't all bad. Many people come back to treatment after a break if they are allowed to. When you include those restarting people, around 30 to 60% of people are still on meds 5 years later. Oh my God. Sorry about that, everyone.
Interesting. No, I'm going to give that a 7.5 out of 10 for information and just a 3 for delivery. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in about as long as it takes for whatever advert or whatever it is that's in the break. We'll see you in a bit. Bye.
Bye, cheese. Bye.
Womble's cock.
Womble's cocks.
Welcome back to episode 198.
That was painful. Jesus Christ. That is
your two faces. You could record that and you wouldn't have needed an ADHD diagnosis.
That is torture in the worst place.
7 seconds.
7 seconds is a fucking eternity.
It is. Right, sorry about that. Right, come back in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to episode 198 of the ADHD Adult Podcast. We're talking about long-term effects of ADHD medication, and as always, squeaky chair, in part 3, as always, I don't know, we're doing personal reflections of long-term effects of ADHD medications if we have any capacity to reflect or metacognate. James, go!
I will go. I think that this is a really interesting topic, largely because it's a question. Do you know I do little talks, Al?
Little talk. Brian Brains' his little
Jesus
talk.
Christ. Even Sam's face then. Even Sam's face. The look of like, oh God, he's doing that bit. Pathetic.
It's not fair, is it, James? He's bullying in the worst place.
Honestly, Howard is loving this. All of this discordance between
not.
the three of us. No, he's not. You're right. He's fucking hating it. And us.
Can we just get deliverance, please?
Yes. Anyway, at some of those talks, one of the most common questions I get is about medicating children. And I'm a parent with a child, and I don't know, whether I should medicate them, etc. And whilst I don't give advice, I will often talk about the fact that, well, if you look at all the really big studies, like the Scandinavian studies where they look at the whole population, then, pretty much all of the outcomes are better. and therefore that's what you need to take into consideration. Do I want the risks of taking this medication versus this generally improved benefits? For me, I suppose it's going to be interesting, the difference for us as late diagnosed or adult diagnosed ADHD is because our brains, having already largely fully formed by the age of 347, meant that those changes can be neuroplastic, but not maybe as big a corrective change as children that take medication long term. But for me, there's three themes when it comes to my long-term use. So I've been on lisdexamfetamine now for 4 years. Right? Yeah, 4.5 years. And I'll be honest, I don't use it as consistently as, somebody that doesn't have ADHD does. I've got my little pill box with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know why I had to say all days of the week. Complete, isn't there? And for 2 weeks, and yet every single day I will just grab a box at random, take some tablets out, pour them in my hand. Yeah, no, I don't go by the day. I just grab a. I don't know why. It's just like, occasionally I might go, okay, I'll take Mondays, but then the next day I'll take the other Mondays and try and work through them like that. And then the next day I'll forget that's my system, because it feels like a new system that I go from start to finish instead of by the day. And then some days I'll just go, some days I'll go, I'm not joking, well, it was Sunday the other day, and then take Sundays.
There was a Sunday, so
yeah, it was Sunday recently. I'll take Sundays. Honestly, that is the thought process that goes through my head. But when you have the glorious kind of miasma of my coexisting conditions that mean that pill container has like 11 tablets in it, and my evening one has 7.
Do you get the local kids round, and if they can guess the number of pills, they win it?
No, they still have to pay for them, Al. Come on, it's a business, not a hobby. What happens is, obviously, if I have, as I have recently, after having a month of no migraines in August, I had 3 4/5 day migraines. And I'm not taking my ADHD meds there. So that's 15 days out of about 25 where I didn't take my meds. And if you look back over the last few years, I haven't taken my ADHD medication consistently, because whenever I am ill, whether it's a migraine, whether it's low mood, whether it's having COVID or colds, which I've had quite a lot, then I generally won't take it. So it's been nowhere near like everyday use. But the main thing that I think has changed over those 4 years is I think its impact. I believe, Al, with what we kind of know about fundamental biology and receptors hiding away when they're constantly exposed to elevated levels of something, whether it's a hormone or a neurotransmitter. I believe that we do develop tolerance. I believe that I have developed tolerance to the medication. And it doesn't have the same impact now that it had 4 years ago. But at the same time, when I miss a day because I'm feeling ill, for example, I don't notice my symptoms are any worse.
Really?
Yeah. No, I don't. They may be wildly worse. And someone else may look at me and think, Jesus fucking Christ. But I don't notice the symptoms are worse. Apart from, and this is the big confounder for me, when it comes to energy. So I hit burnout almost. Whose phone was that? I hit burnout.
Well, it won't be mine, will it? There's no indication on mine that anything has ever happened.
Yes, because when I need you in an emergency, it's dead easy to get hold of you. When I went into burnout last December, and then it took me, so I was off work for kind of 5 weeks, and then it took me a couple of months to get back up to full speed. I haven't really recovered from that yet. My energy levels are still in the bin. And it used to be that I would get out of bed every morning before 6. Like I'm awake, I'm kind of awake and alert. I'll get up, it'd annoy Sam. Now I have to drag myself out of bed, and I have to take my Lisdex very first thing. As soon as I wake up, reach over, take a tablet, have a drink. And then by the time I get up, it will kind of be starting to get into my blood. Now, I don't know whether or not, the medication use has masked my exhaustion / burnout since I went into burnout, which it probably has. B, whether or not being as tired, as exhausted, fatigued as I am constantly, that's having an impact on the medication use. So it's really hard to tell. But, and I'm going to say something, and guys, tell me if we need to edit this out.
Okay.
Because I will.
Well, if it's about how you feel about your meds,
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's not. So with some of the things that I've heard from people recently, so people, for example, who have not had their annual review performed by a qualified provider, and their GP's chased it up, and then when the GP has really helpfully then referred them to local services, and they've been reviewed, the GP's then refused to sign that shared care agreement. I've also heard people being told that once they're titrated onto a medication, if it has any effectiveness, if they want to then go back and say, well, actually, it's not as effective as I want it to be, can I try another one?
That's a new policy, I think. I've heard this too.
Yeah. Well, I think I told you that one last time we recorded this, and that's why I asked about maybe we need to edit this out, because I'm not sure. I need to look into that. This is why what I'm saying is I am scared to stop getting my ADHD medication.
Yeah, we can change it.
Yes, in case it is stopped. So that means that regardless of whether this is effective at its dose, and this is another thing, I'm sorry, I mentioned the NHS killing my dad in the last episode. Not the NHS, just Redditch Hospital. And actually not just Redditch Hospital, just Ward 10. But actually...
we'll edit that out in post.
Yeah, I will. But actually, what was I saying? I can't remember. It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, honestly,
yeah.
I'm hearing more about the restrictions on shared care as well.
Yeah. No, it's the fact that my GP practice has never, ever, ever in those 4 years allowed me to. My 70 milligrams of Lisdex is split into a 50 and a 20, and they never let me have my 20s. There's something wrong with its entry on the system that whenever I go to reorder it, every time it says you cannot order this medication, I have to phone up and say, can you get someone to review this? And they say, oh, I'll have a look. And then they don't. And then so I only get the 20 milligrams maybe every 3 months.
Oh, that's really
because I just can't order it. So I've not been on 70 milligrams every day as well. So the dose hasn't been consistent, but I don't want to risk. So I think it's important for people, if they're at that stage of worrying whether they want, and this is the bit that I'm worried about leaving in, and therefore you may want to take out, is don't stop getting your medication. If you're taking a break, because the worry is if you stop ordering it for 3 months, they will ask why haven't you used this for 3 months? And you're not meant to stockpile because they're a controlled drug, and that's the bit that I'm worried about.
You're not allowed to do that, are you?
I don't want to say to people,
you can dispose of it, can't you? If you don't take it, you can dispose of it through your pharmacies and so on.
So I suppose just saying it different ways, if you're at that point where you're not sure if it's working and you're worried about going back and being told that we can't have these meds anymore or we can't swap, my worry is that for me, so I'm not giving this as advice, for me, my worry is that if I stopped collecting those medications, I would be stopped being prescribed them at some point.
Yeah.
So I have that
worry.
Yeah, I feel trapped in this loop of, is it really working? I think it kind of is, but I can't really stop. So I've got to just carry on.
And the fact that we can't talk about this is where the studies are wrong, isn't it? It's where the impact, the external validity is wrong. So if if the stimulant nature of your medications is keeping you awake, it might be masking something that you need treatment other than medication for, as well as the meds say. But you don't feel empowered to say anything about that in case they take them off you.
Exactly.
It's mad, this. It's exactly how I think everyone's feeling who's in the same position.
Yeah. So that was my kind of my tip, my reflections, and not a tip. It's not a tip. Don't do that thing because, but also don't not do that thing, if that makes sense. Sam, what about you? Now you're smiling and not looking like you're going to shit yourself, or your face is in some kind of frozen mask of fear.
Thank you. Well, I was listening to yours, and I definitely haven't developed a tolerance to the side effects of the meds. Definitely not. And they don't wake me up either. They make me more sleepy, so I can't even use them to wake me up a bit. But when because I was off work for like 6 or 7 months, something like that. And while I was off, I thought, well, I'll take a break from my medication because I don't know, even though they make me more sleepy, maybe they are masking the burnout a bit, and maybe I do need to rest a bit more, and maybe I don't need them anyway because I'm not working. So took a break. And as well, the reason I took a break was because I have such dry mouth with meds, like really, really dry mouth. That's one of the side effects I have. And I just thought, I'm taking other medication that makes my mouth dry as well. And I just thought I'll take a break to see whether it is the meds that are making my mouth dry, because I will attribute anything negative to the meds, no matter what's going on in my life. It's always the meds, even if I'm doing multiple other things. So yeah, stop the meds for ages. I didn't stop picking my prescriptions up either, because I was worried that they might say, you haven't been taking your meds, should we take you off them? And I didn't want to tell anybody about the side effects, because I was worried that they might say, well, we'll take you off them then. So I just did my own little experiment and stopped taking them, which was a shit show, because the time I need medication more than any is when I'm actually not working, because that's the time that my brain is completely wild, because I love working. I just want to work all of the time. And
I would if I lived with Jane.
So actually, the
That's
time
good.
I really need the meds is when I'm not working, because that's when my brain is wild, because I haven't got anything else to concentrate on apart from just things that other people seem to find enjoyable and my brain just goes mental about. So I stopped taking them for a while, and I haven't been able to titrate up fully since, because my mouth is so dry. So for ages I was on 20 milligrams. I've managed to get up to 40 milligrams. What are you doing that face for, James?
I thought somebody farted or a dog whined.
Oh,
I
it's
think
my squeaky
Alex's
chair,
phone
sorry.
again. Oh, your chair, was it? Okay.
I wish I wasn't so
I didn't
hyperkinetic.
notice that. Yes, so I've only managed just to get up to 40 milligrams, but the side effects are just so much. But I didn't feel like my symptoms had returned fully to what they were before I was on meds, if that makes sense, even though I took like 4 weeks off them. And I still didn't feel like I was as overwhelmed by everything and as unfunctional, that isn't a word, as I was before I started taking meds. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, I still got really, really dry mouth and still can't get back up to my 70 milligrams, which is what I normally take. Alex, what about you? What?
Before we go to Alex, largely just to delay that for everybody, I'm doing this as a favor to you, listener. Can I ask a couple of questions / make myself look clever in a couple of ways?
Yeah.
So the first is, I'm interested in the fact that I don't think I've managed to find, looking for papers for this, many, if any, studies in AuDHD, because obviously there aren't many studies in AuDHD. But what we know is, when it comes to the medication effectiveness, short term, is it's lower in AuDHD. It's 60 to 70%, not 70 to 80%.
Right.
And that partly being the enhanced autistic traits that many people report from stimulant medication, and whether that's just because it lessens the ADHD symptoms so you notice the autistic traits more, or whether it actually actively makes the autistic traits more noticeable. I suspect for many people that are AuDHD, that may be why the medication is seen as less effective, because it's less tolerable. But whether it's less effective long term in terms of neuroplastic change, I think that's interesting. And the dry mouth thing as well, which is very common, I just wanted to say, and I know we've chatted about this, and so Sjogren's syndrome, which is an autoimmune condition that's more common in ADHD, one of its most common symptoms is dry mouth. And I'm not saying you've got it, but I think for many people out there that get dry mouth, that don't know that this is something that could be related to a coexisting condition of ADHD, won't go to a GP and ask about it, because it's just having a dry mouth, and they'll think it's the meds. And that's sometimes where those other factors that I'll mention, the confounding variables, like a coexisting condition, can make a medication look less effective, because you might, if you were someone else, stop taking it saying, well, I can't deal with this dry mouth, and then find out that it could be Sjogren's syndrome or something. So I just thought those two things would make me sound clever.
They do.
Well,
sorry, you go, Sam. Got excited.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, it's a good point. I did go to the GP, and they just said, well, it's not thrush. And I said, I know it's not thrush. It's just a really dry mouth, but my tongue's like kind of furry and white and gets sore and dry and is horrible. And but I didn't want to push it any further, because I knew that they would say, well, you're taking medication, so stop taking medication. But yes, you're right. My autistic traits are far more pronounced when I'm taking ADHD medication. And that kind of could be distressing for a lot of people, I suppose. I don't mind it because I feel like the autistic traits I have kind of make me go a little bit slower and make me look at tiny details, and I kind of enjoy that. But for a lot of people, yes, that could be more of a factor. And also tics. I get increased tics when I
we've done side effects before, but we probably I know it's not long, they're not long term, they're not permanent, are they? But I don't, as far as I'm aware, but the short term side effects are.
There's a just quickly before we get to you, there's a power dynamic there that is so fucking unfair as to be ludicrous, that people are scared to go to a GP to report something in case they're taken off the medication that helps them function on a day-to-day basis.
I've written that down. I'm going to do a post about it. I'm going to do a video about that. The three of us, essentially, all the three of us have got quite a lot of power in ADHD land relative to most people. And all three of us are a little bit frightened of talking about side effects.
Yeah.
That is fucking awful.
Anyway, Al, come on, your go.
Yeah, just a quick one then. So the meds work really well for me. The long-term effects include, and I don't say this lightly, saving my life. I truly believe that. As somebody that is now, I'm completely dry, too cool for alcohol, I think James says about me. I don't think, as we know, I'm autistic, but I think my autistic traits are actually that I'm able to concentrate. I don't think they're necessarily autistic traits. I definitely have some, but I'm able to concentrate on remember this, things I choose to concentrate on. It doesn't help me do stuff I've got to do that I don't want to do. It helps me do things I'm choosing to do. So if you're going to choose to scroll, that's what you will do more of on the meds. It doesn't, they don't change you in that way. The problem I have about this is the positive bias. I'm medication hesitant. I hate medication. I don't think it's right that I should have to put anything in my body to be just who I am. And I do every day because it's worth it. And so what I do is self-sabotage by the second anything's wrong with me, I blame the meds instead of having a look at what it might be. Got a cold? All these meds are giving me a rhinovirus, And then I do have side effects. It affects my stomach. I get dry mouth. And Sam, I get terrible dry mouth if I'm in any stressful conversation or thought. So as soon as anxiety kicks in, my mouth goes madly dry. Like, not even an argument, but I've got to say something. I can't come to this. To even like my wife or someone, my mouth starts to go dry, and I can sense that. And I didn't know I was bothered because of shit metacognition. And that this isn't long-term effects, but it's interesting physiological effects. I sometimes take a break. It's weird. And oh my Christ, I feel shocking. Are you thinking male duck or weird rapper, James?
Male duck.
Okay.
Sometimes I take a Drake and then I imagine kill it or something, but they're just brilliant.
Why?
Why? Better story. Well, it's because it's you. Better story, that would be all round.
It would be better story. Can I carry on?
Yes, please.
The German for duck is enter. Enter the duck. Always makes me laugh. Yes, I can't comprehend the idea of the meds. Like for me, it's night and day. If I take a day off the meds, oh my God. I think almost like withdrawal or something. I don't get the stimulant effect isn't massive for me. You get it a little bit, and I think that using the stimulant effect for when you're having fatigue and when you're having anxiety is a danger of the ADHD meds, but we're scared to say it because we don't want them taken off us. And that's why ADHD meds alone aren't healthy. I'm really lucky that I've done psychoeducation, not just delivered it, but I have learned a lot. And there is evidence that helps with the symptoms. Peaceful wildness helps, James. Not drinking, having good sleep hygiene, all these things work in combination with the meds. And I don't know which is which, of course, but the meds have given me the platform to do all that, and I'm very grateful. But the side effects are bad. I'd love to know 5 years from now if I could come off them and have fewer ADHD type behaviors. The things that really bothered me about ADHD, I now have less of, like concentration, ability to do what I want to do. And so the levels of anxiety have gone down, the levels of depression have gone down, the peacefulness is there, but it's the peacefulness within being a fucking lunatic. You know, I'm always up, I'm always busy or doing something or task orientated. I can't just sit until I can. And so I don't know if the meds have had that effect on me yet, and I don't know how I would ever know. So it's a tricky one. I'm glad for them though.
I really feel like that as well, that I all the time, if I am taking my meds, forget that they actually work and think they're not doing anything until I stop taking them. And then, and I'm medication hesitant like you as well. Even if I'm like in severe pain, I don't want to take painkillers.
No.
But we've spent too long on this part now because I can see James's face.
No, it's just because Alex wrote the word tummy and didn't say it, and I'm desperate for him to say it because it'll make him look like a wanker. Go on, say it.
Did I say stomach?
Tummy.
Give me tummy problems. Oh, James. Oh, my tummy. Oh.
Anyway, I feel like I learned something. I probably didn't, but that was interesting. We got time for a game before we pop off.
Yeah, go on.
It's probably up my bum. No.
Pop off.
Mrs. Pop-Off, yes. Those clever listeners may have noticed the game was slightly different last week, but still I won it. So this week, this is about me being over at Mum's, and when I'm over at Mum's, I love spending time with her when I'm there. We do crosswording. It's great because she's got a brain that can do crosswords, and I've got eyes. So between us,
and a pen,
we've got everything. And a pen. We've got everything that's needed to do crosswords. But when I'm there and I'm working, so coaching, and I'm having to go into the conservatory and then come out and spend time with her and do stuff, but also obviously help her get dressed and that. There's a lot for me to fuck up, basically. And I fucked something up relatively recently, and that was to do with Mum's clothes to get dressed. So what did I get wrong, or what did I kind of forget or miss out? There was clothes that Mum needed to get dressed into while I was coaching. Did I not move them from where they were? So she said, can you grab those clothes and bring them downstairs, for example? So I just left them, didn't ignore her instruction, left them where they were. Did I take them with me into the coaching session, so into the conservatory, which I then closed the door instead of giving them to her? Or did I bring them from the place where they were, but then put them somewhere where she couldn't obviously see or reach?
Right. Oh, that's a good one. I don't think you just left them because you're so obsessed with that cape of yours because you're a Dracula. You see, that's where I'm going with this, that you'd never do that. You coach naked famously, so you didn't take them in with you. So it was the third one. You put them somewhere wrong.
And that's the second one. I took them into the coaching session with me.
Did you wear them? Is this just a massive alibi for you wearing?
Coaching in my mum's clothes. Yeah, no,
we find out she died 3 years ago. We're all going to be very unsurprised and disappointed.
I think people would be unsurprised anyway. Yeah, just carried the neat little pile of clothes and next to me on the sofa. Then got out to Mum, obviously saying, "Where are my clothes?" And she'd been looking for them for nearly an hour, and I felt obviously like the cunt that I am.
James,
I think that's
just to be clear. A lot of our listeners have autistic traits, so you've just told us a blind woman's been looking for them, and you need to clarify how. Like,
oh yes, reaching for them, then searching for them. Yeah, apologies if that makes sense. Yeah, but I do it all the time. Do you want to watch the football, Mum? I mean, not watch. It's you can't help but use these phrases that we use, and it's taught me a lot about trying to think about other disabilities. Anyway, it's time for us to go. So. If you're at this point still listening, then you can get in touch via the website to send us in your topic suggestions or your letters. You can still buy ADHD Unpacked if you want to.
And actually are.
I know it's mad. I don't really understand it at all. It's a terrible book. And you can also join us on Patreon for things like body doubling and AuDHD towers and other shit like that, etc. So see ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all.
Trigger warning, klaxon. Klaxon, 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 big klaxon. No. Trigger warning, klaxon. Klaxon, klaxon.
So I had some the reasonable adjustments thing that they do at work recently, which I was really lucky. My work are really good, actually. And they got me a Remarkable Paper Pro thing, which I was really excited about because I thought it would change my life. I was very, 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 very excited that I got this. But I have to take time to get used to things. So I had to take a while it was in its box, just looking at it. And then I'd take it out of its box and touch it every now and again. And I have to get used to having it with me and holding the pen and stuff before I can even turn it on. And that took loads and loads of time. And then turning it on and working out how I'm going to use it. But the problem is I'm so busy at work that I don't have time to kind of work out how to use this thing to make things better for me. And I'm just getting, every day I'm just like, just trying to get through all of the things. But I really want to use this thing because I think it could change my life potentially, but I just don't have time to use it. And when I have used it, I just can't get used to it because it's new. And I don't know if it's because I'm autistic that it takes me a while to get used to new things, and I just don't have the time to get used to it. But I feel really, really bad because work have bought me this thing and I can't use it. I'm sorry.